All right, I'm going to be releasing a few practice problems here for you guys as it relates to direct from text. Let's take a look at question 2. Here, what it's asking you: your uncle repays a loan, $100 from 10th National Bank, by writing a $100 check from his TNB checking account. Assume these are the only loans and deposits available for your uncle in the bank. So down here, your uncle's assets, obviously an asset for your uncle is his checking account. And this is before he repays the loan. Okay, that's in bold. So he has $100. And you look at his liabilities, is the loans, and he has $100 worth of loans. As you scroll down, 10th National Bank, a bank's asset is the loan for $100. And the liabilities, the deposits for $100. Now, as you notice, both his net worth, there's been no wealth created. Assets equal liabilities, so his wealth has not changed. And as you go down here and work the problem out below, it'll come down to the true or false. Your uncle's wealth has changed after he pays off the loan. I'll leave you to figure that out after he pays off the loan. I'll give you a clue to the first one. His assets after he pays off the loan will be 0, and his liabilities will be 0 as well, because he paid off the loan, and his net worth is still 0. So your uncle's wealth has changed, and same for the bank. Their assets is 0. They have no outstanding loans, and their liabilities are 0 as well. Has your uncle's wealth changed? Well, here, assets equal liabilities, net worth is 0, and assets equal liabilities, his net worth is still 0, so this would be false. All right, let's take a look at another problem from chapter 16. Question 3. Okay, this is Beleaguered State Bank. They hold $250 million in deposits and maintain a reserve ratio of 10%. I'm going to bring my calculator up just so you guys can see the math here. So, 250 million deposits. And then we need to know how much do they need in reserves. Well, you would do 250 times 10%. 25 million in reserves, which leaves $225 million in loans. Now, the largest depositor withdraws $10 million in cash from her account. The bank decides to restore its reserve ratio by reducing the amount of loans outstanding, and this is really difficult for a bank to do in its calling its loans, so actually this is a bit unrealistic, but that's how they're going to handle it. So I'm just going to carry these down. So now we know that they've withdrawn their deposits, which now we're at 240 million. Let's leave the reserves the same and the loans the same. Now, we're actually above our reserve ratio, but we've lost 10 million out of here as well. So I have to subtract the 10 million from deposits and the reserves. And now, as you can see, we're balanced, but we're not meeting our reserve requirement, which would need to be 24 million. So the question asked you to, call in some of the loans to subtract 10 million from the loan side, which will put us at 215, okay? Or I'm sorry, 216, because you're only going to need 9. You don't have to subtract 10 million, you just need to restore the reserve ratio in 24. All right, because Beleaguered State Bank is cutting back on its loans, other banks will find they have too little reserves, causing them to decrease their loans. They may find it difficult to cut back on its loans immediately because it cannot force people to pay off their loans. This is what we call a credit crunch. And if you studied anything between 2008 and 2009, a lot of banks, over 100 banks within a 3-year time span from 2009, 2010, 2011, around there, hundreds of banks went out of business. And lending, we faced a credit crunch in the nation. So when banks run into this problem, especially smaller banks or any kind of bank, it asks, what is an alternative rather than calling in the loans because that's unrealistic? Well, they wouldn't want to lend more money, so that's out of the question. They would like to attract additional deposits. They can borrow money from other banks based on the federal funds rate, or as a last resort, with the discount rate, they can borrow money from the central bank, which is the Federal Reserve. All right. Now the last question, let's take a look at one more question here. Okay, so here we have, if the Federal Reserve buys $2,000 worth of bonds, so the reason they would buy bonds is they want to inject cash into the system. So they're trying to expand the money supply. The largest possible increase in money supply is blank. Now we know we can use the money multiplier here, which is 1 divided by, right, 1 divided by the reserve requirement. So let's just clear our calculator. 1 divided by the reserve requirement being 5%, so 0.05 gives us a money multiplier of 20. So if they buy $2,000 worth of bonds, you would do 2,000 times the money multiplier, 20, equals $40,000. Okay, that's the largest possible increase that could happen. If someone deposits in a bank 2,000, she's been hiding in a cookie jar, the largest possible increase in the money supply is, well, in this case, this 2,000's already been in the money supply. So how would this be different than the bonds? Well, the bonds wouldn't create any liabilities for the bank where the $2,000 was already part of the money supply. So you have to subtract that. So we create the 40,000. You could still use the money multiplier, but you'd have to subtract this 2,000, and we'd only create 38,000. So the money supply will expand more if the Fed's injecting money, in this case buying bonds, than it would if you found 2,000, because that 2,000 was already part of the money supply. So technically, you're not creating new money in that case. So all other things equal, the money supply will expand more if the Federal Reserve buys $2,000 worth of bonds than if someone deposits bank 2,000 that she had been hiding in a cookie jar, and that would be true. So there's some problems of the week. Hopefully that helped you out. Good luck. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or give me a call or set up office hours.